And if I told you that the greatest suffering after death may not come from a place of fire, but from a cold silence? Imagine crossing the border of life and discovering that on the other side there is a void. You are there, conscious, feeling, but the people you loved the most can no longer hear your call. What happens to a spirit when the last candle of remembrance is extinguished? Based on thousands of communications studied by Spiritism from the works of Allan Kardec, the reality is frighteningly human. And what comes after that forgetting is a journey of consequences that will surprise you.
So, we stopped at the edge of this abyss of silence. The spirit is on the other side, conscious, and the last link with the world of the living seems to have broken. What happens at this exact moment? The first thing that the most serious spiritual sources, such as the books psychographed by Chico Xavier, reveal to us, is a feeling that any one of us can understand: the anguish of being invisible. It is not a divine punishment. It is a natural consequence. Think of your memory, your love, as a kind of umbilical cord of energy. When you pray, when you remember with affection, you are sending a thread of light. This thread is a support, a force that helps that spirit to rise, to find its way in the new dimension in which it lives.
Now, when this thread is cut, the spirit experiences a deep stagnation. It is as if he were in an infinite waiting room. He is not necessarily in a place of active torment with fire and screams, as the ancients painted hell. Often he is very close to us, in the same environment, but at a different frequency. He sees life continue. He sees the family reunited, hears the conversations, feels the energy of the house. But it is as if there were a thick, unbreakable glass separating him from everything. He tries to speak, but no one hears him. He tries to touch, but no one feels it. His loneliness is not empty. It is full of memories and of an agonizing desire to be present again.
The spirits of codification, those who communicated with Allan Kardec in the 19th century, call this condition voluntary prison. Voluntary not in the sense that they chose it, but because the attachment to the material world, often intensified by the lack of our support, keeps them there, trapped. They remain orbiting the places and people they loved, waiting for a crack, a moment of attention, a thought that reaches them. This waiting, over time, transforms. Longing turns into a dull pain. Frustration can turn into a silent despair. They begin to relive their own errors, their own negligences in life. The question, "Why did they forget me?" mixes with another, even more painful one. Did I also forget someone?
It is a state of transition, but one that can prolong itself for a time that we do not measure in years, but in intensity of suffering. And the worst, this energy of anguish and stagnation does not remain contained only from the other side. It creates a kind of magnetic field of sadness that can, yes, subtly influence the environment of the living. That depression that has no apparent cause, that feeling of weight in an old house, the melancholy that sometimes takes hold of a family. Often, it can be a reflection of this spiritual helplessness, an echo of the silent cry of those who were left behind in memory.
But here is the crucial point. The spirit in this situation is not just a passive victim. Pain has a purpose. It is the engine that will force you to a movement. And when the door of the memory of the living seems closed forever, another door, internal, begins to open. It is when his journey takes an unexpected turn, and the attempts at communication become more intense and sometimes more creative. Because no one in any plan of existence can stay forever shouting into the void without trying a new strategy.
And it is in this moment of silent despair that the intelligent nature of the spirit enters into action. It will not simply disappear into the mist. Driven by the vital need for connection, it begins to try, in all possible ways within the laws that govern its dimension, to knock on the door of our reality. It is here that the story becomes fascinating, because these attempts are everywhere, and we, most of the time, do not even notice.
The most common and smooth communication is through dreams. Not those frightening nightmares, but vivid and realistic dreams with someone who has passed away. The one where the person seems so present, so serene, and you have a normal conversation.
According to the spirits who guided Allan Kardec, sleep is the state where our soul, our spirit, becomes more free from the bonds of the body. It's as if our vibrational frequency changes, tuning into more subtle planes. In this tuning, the spirit seeking attention finds a crack. He projects images, feelings, symbolic messages. Often, he just wants to transmit a feeling of peace, or a discreet warning, or simply the fact that he still exists. When you wake up with a heart full of longing, or with an inexplicable feeling of relief after dreaming of a loved one, it's very likely that he has finally managed to cross the silence. But dreams are just the beginning. And if I told you that that sudden idea, that hunch that saved you from a problem, or that sudden and intense memory of someone you hadn't seen in a long time might not be the result of chance? Spirits with a little more knowledge, or aided by spiritual mentors, can act directly on our thoughts. They don't put words in our heads, but they sow impressions, inspirations, intuitions. It's a communication almost imperceptible that mixes with the normal flow of our mind. You're washing the dishes, and out of nowhere, the image of your grandfather comes to you with overwhelming force. It may be that he's there, by your side, trying to make you feel his presence, in the hope that this memory motivates you to pray for him, to send a thought of love.
And for more urgent situations, or for spirits that need more direct help, there are mediums. Mediumship, as explained in the codification, is a channel. Benevolent spirits organize real rescue campaigns. They can take that forgotten spirit to a serious mediumship meeting, where he can, through the medium, deliver a message, ask for prayers, or simply cry and be heard. It is a process of spiritual assistance that shows that even when the living fail, the solidarity of the spiritual world does not disappear. In the book Our Home, psychographed by Chico Xavier, we see how entire spiritual colonies organize themselves for these missions of assistance.
But what happens when none of that works? When the person on earth is so closed off in their pain, or so distracted by material life, that they are as if wearing a helmet that blocks any subtle signal? What happens to all that energy of effort, to all that willpower to be heard, when it runs into an impenetrable wall of forgetting? It is there that the story takes the deepest and most revealing turn of all.
And when all attempts fail, when the last whisper in the dreams fades away and intuition is ignored, it is there that the greater law enters. Not the law of punishment, but the law of learning and mercy. The spirit, exhausted from banging against closed doors, is led to undertake the only journey that remains, the journey into itself.
The solitude imposed by our forgetting transforms, little by little, into fertile ground for an inner revolution. Assisted by spiritual mentors, as described in the works of André Louise, he is led to revisit his own history. He sees with stark clarity the times when he himself denied love, ignored requests for help, or left someone abandoned. The question, "Why did they forget me?" dissolves, giving way to a profound understanding. Life is a mirror. This painful phase is a process of healing, not of eternal condemnation. Alongside, the justice of life acts with intelligence upon those who remain. That guilt without origin, that solitude that appears from nothing, or even the difficulty of connecting with the living around you, may be subtle reflections of this spiritual disconnection. It is the universe inviting, in its own way, to rebalancing.
But the end of this story is not sad. It is one of liberation. When the spirit assimilates these lessons, and when, on our side, a spark of memory finally ignites, even if it is years later, a new cycle begins. He is directed to work assisting other suffering spirits, finds a new spiritual family, and follows his path of evolution. The bridge of love may have been in ruins for a time, but its foundations are indestructible. The forgetting of the living does not erase a spirit. It only leads him to a longer and lonelier road back home. And this leaves us with the most important question of all. Is it worth letting those we love undertake this journey alone?